Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Ever since One Piece began expanding the backstories of secondary characters, fans have noticed that Oda rarely drops old information for free. Every detail, every flashback, every offhand line from a character eventually becomes years later part of a much bigger revelation. This was true for Nico Robin's past, Sanji and the Vinsmoke family story, Ace and Gol D. Roger, and now it's happening with characters who until recently lived in the shadows of the main plot, Shakuyaku, Rayleigh, and the Kuja. And it's precisely in this recent narrative expansion in chapters 1156 and 1157 that a theory long circulating quietly among fans starts gaining traction. The possibility that Boa Hancock is not just a Kuja raised by Gloriosa, but actually the biological daughter of Rayleigh and Shakuyaku. In chapter 1156, we saw the Kuja pirates' youth take center stage. The vice captain at the time, Shakuyaku, proved to be not only an incredibly beautiful and respected warrior, but also a woman who even caught the attention of the legendary Gol D. Roger. Gloriosa, the captain back then, revealed passionate feelings for Roger, but he ignored her, enchanted instead by Shakuyaku's beauty and personality. It was in this same chapter that it became clear that Rayleigh, the Dark King, was the only man not swayed by the Kuja's charm. This seemingly simple dynamic turned out to be one of the most revealing moments for understanding the future of all of them. Shaggy and Rayleigh's relationship began there, timidly but full of meaning, as if the author were planting a seed that would bear fruit much later. By chapter 1157, we reach the turning point. Shakuyaku leaves the Kuja and travels to Hachinosu, the pirates' island that would later become Blackbeard's territory. There, she opens a bar and lives among the era's most feared criminals, becoming known as the irreplaceable treasure of Hachinosu. This decision carries major implications. Why would a woman like Shaki, who had status and power in Amazon Lily, choose to leave everything to live in a territory dominated by dangerous pirates? Why abandon a sisterhood that has always valued unity and the continuation of the Kuja legacy? The possible answers point to a truth far more personal and emotional than she showed. Shaki could have been hiding a pregnancy, a family secret, or even the need to raise a daughter away from the Navy's eyes and the pressures of Amazon Lily. Looking at the timeline, everything almost fits perfectly. Boa Hancock is currently 31 years old. Going back in time, Shaki left the Kuja around 42 years ago. This leaves a window of over 10 years, during which the ex-Kuja could have become pregnant and given birth before settling definitively in Sabaudi with Rayleigh as we know today. It's a plausible period for Hancock to have been born and in some way delivered to Amazon Lily, whether for protection or due to adverse circumstances. Rayleigh's behavior toward Hancock has always been notable. In the Amazon Lily arc, when Rayleigh is mentioned, it's clear that he is regarded with almost reverential respect by the Kuja warriors. Later, when Hancock decides to help Luffy infiltrate Impel Down, Rayleigh is one of the figures who validates her choices. For a character who rarely respected men aside from Luffy, this detail stands out. Hancock never confronted Rayleigh, never challenged him, never looked at him with disdain. On the contrary, she seemed to see him as a natural authority figure, almost paternal. For attentive fans, this silent respect always felt different. And then comes the major narrative parallel. Boa Hancock, the empress who hides behind a mask of coldness and arrogance, may discover that she is the product of love, or at least the union between Shakuyaku and Rayleigh, two characters who represent freedom, intelligence, and courage. This revelation would make perfect sense within Oda's logic, who loves turning seemingly isolated characters into central pieces of a larger web. It's no coincidence that Hancock shares Shaki's irresistible beauty and Rayleigh's calm in dangerous situations, as well as the same deep analytical gaze. But why would this matter to the plot? First, it would give Hancock a new layer of development. For years, she's been presented as the empress in love with Luffy, almost reduced to that comedic romantic trait. Discovering she is Rayleigh's daughter would place her at the heart of a legacy directly connected to Gol D. Roger, the old generation, and even the search for One Piece. Being the daughter of the man who was Roger's right hand automatically elevates her status in the story, giving her significance beyond her romance with Luffy. Second, it would completely change how the audience sees Rayleigh and Shakuyaku. They would no longer be just the retired couple living in Sabaudi. They would become figures who shaped the life of one of the most important characters today. Hancock, in this case, would serve as the bridge between the old and new generations, carrying both the Kuja's rebellious spirit and the Dark King's wisdom. Moreover, the timeline almost eerily supports this theory. The period when Shakuyaku left the Kuja matches the window when Hancock could have been born. The detail that Shaki was treated as a treasure in Hachinosu shows she was surrounded by dangerous men, yet resisted them all, reinforcing the idea that the only man with whom she truly built something was Rayleigh. Considering Oda revealed this in flashbacks precisely when Hancock is regaining relevance, it's hard to believe it's a coincidence. Imagine Hancock's reaction upon discovering this truth. The woman who spent her life bearing scars of slavery and shame, who believed she had no family beyond her sisters, would suddenly realize she is the daughter of two living legends. This wouldn't erase her suffering, but would give new meaning to her existence. Her arrogance could give way to a different kind of pride, the pride of carrying a heroic legacy, not just as Amazon Lily's empress, but as Rayleigh's daughter. And this emotional shock would be perfect for Oda to explore a new phase of her character, showing that Hancock could play an even larger role in the final battle against the world government. Chapters 1156 and 1157, therefore, act as the seeds of this theory. Oda showcased the Kuja's past, Shaki's relationship with Rayleigh, the timeline of her leaving Amazon Lily, and gradually connected Hancock to these elements. For an author who loves playing with late parentage reveals, just think of Ace as Roger's son, Yamato as Kaido's daughter, and even Luffy's connection to Dragonite would be perfectly consistent for Hancock to discover she is Rayleigh's heir. This would not only give her character new purpose, but also reinforce the significance of the Kuja women in the story, showing that their legacy spans generations. If Hancock discovers she is Rayleigh's daughter, the first immediate consequence would be in her relationship with herself. Boa Hancock has spent her entire life believing her identity was defined by shame, by having been a celestial dragon slave, and by carrying the mark that symbolized the worst trauma of her childhood. Her arrogance, her insistence on calling herself the most beautiful woman in the world, has always been in part a psychological shield to hide scars that no one could see. But if, suddenly, she learns that she is the daughter of the man who sailed alongside Gol D. Roger and the woman who was vice captain of the Kuja, this revelation rewrites her origin from the inside out. She stops being just an empress marked by pain and becomes the rightful heir to a legacy that connects the past and present of piracy. Then comes the question of Rayleigh and Shakuyaku's reaction. Rayleigh has never been portrayed as a paternal figure, but rather as a mentor, someone who guides and protects in his own way. However, if the revelation comes to light, we would see a side of him Oda hasn't shown yet, the father. Imagine the emotional weight of Hancock facing Rayleigh and realizing that the man who always treated her with respect and stood at the periphery of her life is actually her biological father. There wouldn't need to be a long conversation, just a silence full of emotion, a look that says everything. Shakuyaku, in turn, would reveal a side of vulnerability we've never seen. The woman who has always been ironic, strong, and independent might, perhaps in tears, admit that she left Hancock because she believed it was the only way to protect her. This would create one of the most human moments in One Piece, showing that even the toughest characters carry regrets. For Luffy, this revelation would also have a special impact. He, who has always positioned himself between Hancock and any outside judgment, would suddenly see her as someone even closer to his inner circle. Rayleigh was the master who trained Luffy during the time skip, the figure who shaped his strength and resilience. Knowing that the woman who loves him is the daughter of that same man would deepen their bond even further. This isn't about romance, it's about trust. Hancock would cease to be just a devoted ally and become an extension of a legacy Luffy already respects. That bond could prove decisive in the war against the world government, giving Hancock an added reason to fight alongside Luffy, not just out of love, but out of destiny. In the New World, the revelation would have explosive repercussions. Pirates and the world government have always seen Hancock as an isolated empress who maintained her strength only thanks to the Kuja and the fear her beauty inspired. But being recognized as Rayleigh's daughter, the right-hand man of the Pirate King would instantly change her position on the board. The Yonko would see her as a piece of immeasurable value, the world government as an even greater threat, and the Kuja as confirmation that their empress is not just a warrior, but someone destined to be at the center of history. In this context, being Rayleigh's daughter would make Hancock a key figure in uniting Amazon Lily with the Great War to come. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.